It's the JT the Brick Show.
This is the silver and black. This is the Raiders. This is a historic franchise. This is no ordinary job.
Your silver and black home to sound off for over 25 years.
I don't care if I offend somebody. If it isn't right, I'm going to stop practice. We're going to do it the right way.
And now, here's JT the Brick.
Out of the gate, JT today on a busy, busy day, Wednesday, June 17th, and we are rolling. Portugal, Congo here. I'm watching World Cup. I love the World Cup. Group K is playing today. Yesterday, you had arguably one of the biggest days in the early rounds ever of the World Cup as the Stars and Mbappe scored twice. Holland scored twice for a great team from the Netherlands. And then last night, Lionel Messi scored 3 goals, a hat trick in Kansas City at Arrowhead Stadium. And that was one of the more memorable games ever played because Messi is the greatest player of all time. Don't argue that. Stop. He's the greatest player of all time. He scored 3 goals in his 6th World Cup. It was unbelievable. And I was on the air last night for 4 hours. So the voice needed a little pick-me-up today. Normally I'd have an ice-cold Modelo, but I don't drink during the week, especially in the morning. That's not a problem. I'll have a bucket of Modelos on Friday. But my wife made me tea this morning. I got up. I did a podcast with Tom Looney. You can find the podcast up there at JT and Looney, wherever you get your podcast. And I woke up today, and that's the focus of this monologue. I woke up today in a war with Kansas City. That's the focus of the monologue, brought to you by Modelo, the fighting spirit of Modelo, proud partner of our show. I don't know if anybody in Kansas City has a radio show big enough to have Modelo as a partner, a global brand like that, but I do. And I think we're going to have a couple of Kansas City fans coming in today to this show who normally wouldn't be here because they're upset with me. Let me tell you what happened last night. Last night, as Messi scored, after the game, all the Argentina fans went into the concourse of Arrowhead Stadium with their country's flag. Their country. Not a Kansas City Chief flag, their country, Argentina. They hung the flags over the concourse walls. So remember these old stadiums, these archaic stadiums, they have these long walkways where you have to walk through the tunnels, from outside when you're freezing cold and it's windy. And the Argentina fans, they stayed in Arrowhead and they danced and they were singing for their country and they had flags wrapped around their shoulders. But the cool thing that I've never seen before, I've never seen this before, and I've been to the Chiefs. I've seen the Chiefs a couple of times. I've been out there with the Raiders, going on year 29 with the Raiders. I've been to Arrowhead. I got a bunch of idiots in Kansas City that said I'd never been there. No, I've been to Kansas City. I don't live in Kansas City. I don't want to live in Kansas City. I would never live in Kansas City. But I've met some good people in Kansas City over the years. Good people, right? In the flyover, good people. So anyway, I'm sitting there and I tweet, which probably, I don't think it was a mistake, but it caused me a lot of hell today at JT the Brick on X. So I tweeted out that they've never done this in Kansas City. Oh boy. Every response. A couple of 100,000 responses on YouTube and X combined. You don't know what you're talking about. We own the Raiders. You suck. You're a wannabe Jim Rome. Your career's over. You haven't been relevant forever. Really? I just pointed out that the fans of Argentina did something that wasn't seen before in Kansas City. Well, maybe that was a bit of a mistake. Because Kansas City, when they win, they do that stupid chant. Oh, the one they do in Atlanta? They do that in Kansas City. It's called the Tomahawk Chop. And they're very good at it, and it's very loud. And Kansas City does, and the home of the Chiefs. That's pretty cool during the anthem, right? I think you sing the anthem, but we do good nights here in Vegas. So anyway, I'm sitting there and I'm saying that. So then Kansas City started getting mad at me. And they started posting videos of them walking out of the same stadium in the same tunnels, packed, doing whoa. But I'm like, that's not similar to Argentina. You don't drape your Kansas City flags over the concourse. You don't wear flags over your shoulders. You don't sing songs for your country. You just do that stupid tomahawk chop. You know, here in Raiderland, we do Raiders. I'm sure they hate that in Kansas City. And then they tell me the Raiders suck and the Raiders aren't relevant. I'm like, no, they played in 5 Super Bowls, won 3. You've been hot. Kansas City's been irrelevant for 50 years. From Super Bowl 4 to Super Bowl 54, they were irrelevant. The Raiders weren't irrelevant for 50 years. They were great in the 60s, 70s, 80s, the 90s. They were pretty good. You know, and then they've been through a drought. And look, Kansas City's been much better than the Raiders the last 10 years, the Mahomes era for sure. So I'm not going to argue that fact. You know, we've been getting our butts kicked by the Chiefs a while. And that, they know that, and I know that. But man, are these fans uptight. Oh, boy. Now, did I deserve to get that heat from Kansas City? Maybe. Maybe I should have clarified it and been nicer. I should have shown a video of the Argentina fans and said, isn't this beautiful? Look at the love that Argentina is giving their country in Kansas City. This is great, blah, blah, blah. No. In the tweet, I said, you don't see this at a Chiefs game. Nuclear bomb went off in my life. My sons were cracking up. They love it. They like when I make money. So I made a lot of money this morning in engagement because I'm a blue checkmark Twitter guy and I'm making money a little bit today. Enough to buy a dinner, enough to buy a bucket of Modelo's. But man, did they come after me. And yeah, they're saying it here in my chat. You poked the hornet's nest. Well, really, I don't talk politics. You know, there's guys who do sports and politics. Look at Barstool in Portnoy, who I think has had a brilliant career. I don't deal with that every day. I don't wake up with people coming after me or doing all that. But, man, here's why I'm excited about this. Once again, I proved my love for the Raider Nation. I am getting my ass kicked today on X because I went after Kansas City and they are blaming me and saying that I'm a bad guy. I'm not a bad guy. Anybody who's ever met me in my life, 99.999% of people who ever met me loves me. I buy them beer, we talk, we hang out, they come in my pool, we travel together. The people who don't know me, well, they think I'm the same guy on radio that I am in real life, and a lot of times I am. So I wanted to bring that up in the monologue. Because this is my home in the Raider Nation. I'm getting attacked pretty aggressively on X. Some people like that. Some people want to get their numbers up and engagement up. I don't care if I have 1 million followers, 60,000, or no followers. I don't care about that. I care about my family and my friends and my jobs. But wow, woo, did I poke the Kansas City Chiefs fans? So the reason I bring this up today is it really ties in nicely to a topic that I wanted to get into, which is really a topic, if you've been listening to me for the last 8 minutes or 30 years, I talk about every 4 years when it comes to soccer. We are not a soccer country. We are not. We like soccer. We let our kids play soccer. We let our kids, when they're toddlers, run around and kick the ball out of bounds. And moms run up and down the sidelines with juice boxes. And dads take videos of their kids playing soccer. And most kids quit by the age of 8 years old. They're playing Little League. They're playing football. They're playing lacrosse. They're doing other sports. We're not a soccer country. We're not Europe. We're not the Far East. We're not South America. We're not Africa. So soccer is much bigger than any sport anywhere around the world. It's the biggest sport by far. I'm an expert on this topic because I've been talking about it for decades. And what I mean by that is for every one NFL fan that we have, there's 1,000 soccer fans. Not 100, 1,000. If you look at the billions of people with a B, billions that live in this world, not hundreds of millions, billions. They're all soccer fans. They're not fans of Major League Baseball and the NBA. Some are, but they're all soccer fans. So when we get a chance to see these soccer fans, which we never do, we don't have the World Cup here, right? We had the Women's World Cup. We don't have the World Cup here. We're watching all of these videos of these Scottish soccer fans at Fenway Park. I could have tweeted out the same thing at Fenway Park, and I probably would have got more heat. More heat because the Red Sox are a rabid fan base. I'm a Yankee fan. Red Sox and Yankees don't like each other, but we respect each other. We respect each other. And what's happened at Fenway Park over the last couple of nights is really unique. What's happened at Fenway Park is the Scottish soccer fans are in town for the World Cup at Foxborough. And while they're there on vacation watching soccer, they're going to Fenway Park and they're drinking all the beer at all the bars. All of them. And everybody at Fenway saying, what's going on? We've never had this before. So I could go on Twitter and say, Red Sox fans have never acted this way at Fenway, and I'd be right. Red Sox fans don't sing songs other than Sweet Caroline. That's it. And they do that in the 7th inning. The Scottish fans have been singing songs the entire game. ABBA songs, all these other songs. So that's unique. We haven't seen that. And that's the only point I was trying to prove about Arrowhead last night. The Argentina fans celebrated in the concourse with flags for their country. That's never happened at a Kansas City Chief game. I mean, I'm sure someone has an American flag at a Kansas City Chief game or 2 American flags, but you don't see the concourse covered in Argentina flags other than Argentina being at the World Cup there. So I was just trying to compliment Argentina, and Kansas City fans are just saying Raiders suck today. That guy works for the Raiders. He sucks, and the Raiders suck. Okay. You know, I got Wasted Talent in here and others, some other friends there. Look, I'm just telling you the same thing. I am the gatekeeper of Raider Nation. You might not like it or not, but I will stand in front of the dragons of Game of Thrones, and I will have the sword, and I will fight first. And I might get killed first. The dragon might come after me first and just eviscerate me with a flame. But I'll be at the front of the gate. I won't be in the back. I won't be in the back. I'll be there right up front. I'm not saying Kansas City fans aren't loud. I'm not saying they're not passionate. I'm not saying they don't take over our stadium. Oh, boy, someone sent me a video. Someone sent me a video of the Kansas City fans at Allegiant Stadium doing the tomahawk chop in our building, in our concourse, which was really impressive. I've never seen that from a Raider fan at a Raider game that way. You know, like in Oakland, when the Raiders won, you'd always see in the concourse everywhere, Raiders walking a BART. It would be loud. That hasn't happened yet in Vegas. It hasn't. Maybe after a big game or two, you know, after an unbelievable win, but it doesn't happen much. So all I'm trying to do is compliment Argentina. Did I take a shot at Kansas City? I could have worded it better. Some lady told me to take my tweet down. She goes, take it down. Take it down. I said, no, snowflake. I will not take my tweets down. I don't take them down. I'm not going to do that. So, you know, I'll live another day. X and social media is very dangerous. I live tweet a lot during games when the Knicks are down 29. I'm freaking out and I'm tweeting, oh, my God, we suck. We can't win. Mike Brown, what are we going to do? And then they win and I'm happy, you know, because I'm live tweeting. During a Golden Knight game, they're down 1-0. I'm like, we need a goal. They lose 3-0. I'm live tweeting. I'm trying to just engage the audience. But, man, I didn't plan on doing this today. This is live radio, right? I'm one of the only guys left in radio who don't have a script. I could do this without a teleprompter or a script. But, man, I wanted to get that in. The first 15 minutes of the show, Kansas City attacking me. And I hope we welcome some of them here into the live stream on YouTube at JT the Brick, because they're on X, because they're trolling me on X today. If you want to get in on X at JT the Brick. Can't believe people said I've never been in Kansas City. I've been at the top of sports radio for 30 years. I've never been in Kansas City. Never been to a Chiefs game, really? Okay. All right. We'll see, but hey, Raider Nation, you know what the moral of this story is? We got to beat the Chiefs. So I went into some of the comments with people who were eviscerating me, and I said, Fernando's going to lead me back into Kansas City one of these years, hopefully. And Kansas City will see the birth of Fernando Mendoza. Fernando Mendoza will go into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs. I don't know if it'll be this year. No idea. Don't know if it'll be 2 years from now. But I could promise you, I could promise you that Fernando Mendoza, Brock Bowers, and Ashton Genty will consistently go into Kansas City and turn the tide of the Raider Nation. And if that got me to say that, it's worth taking a couple of bullets today on X and taking the heat that I'm getting today. One more thing on the World Cup. Let's play a Messi goal here. This is all courtesy of FIFA. Shh, everybody's got to be careful because if you don't say that, you get arrested. No, seriously, they might send the cops. The cops might pull up to Lotus Broadcasting and say, whoa, man, you can't play that. Why? It's a goal from Messi. Why can't I play that and talk about the word? No, man. So as long as we give credit, I'm giving credit before and after, Messi was unbelievable.
Nico Gonzalez, Lionel Messi. First career World Cup hat trick, ties the all-time goal-scoring record.
Yeah, that was pretty great, courtesy of Fox and FIFA and everybody connected with that and everybody with the rights and the lawyers and everybody there. So congratulations to Fox and FIFA. There's a really other cool side story brewing right now with Alexi Lalas in studio, because Zoltan and Thierry Henry are there, and they're international soccer legends, and they're mad at Alexi Lalas. They're making fun of him, and that's in studio. It's a big story developing. I love Alexi Lalas. He's been on this show before. And he's a made man over at Fox. He's really big. I worked at Fox Sports Radio 17 years. I've done shows on that lot. I've had him on shows. He's big time. But, man, that's a story there. Also, let me get this into the monologue, brought to you by the DeCastroverde Law Group. The DeCastroverdes, the Brothers Win, brotherswin.com. One of the great entertainers in American history died today, Tom Dreesen. Tom Dreesen was kind of a member connected to the Rat Pack. He was an entertainer, a comedian, and he opened for Sinatra. He opened for Frank Sinatra and was huge in Vegas. Tom Dreesen was massive in Vegas. He put on shows throughout the Strip. I got a chance to meet him decades ago at the American Century Golf Tournament, where he was a player and he was an entertainer, and we lightly became friends. And, we met, and then I followed up, and I said, where do you live? And he said, Sherman Oaks. I go, oh, my God, I live in Sherman Oaks. He lived in the Valley, and we met for lunch one day. We met for lunch at Jerry's Famous Deli, and we met for lunch and a coffee and a sandwich, and I was sitting across from one of the great entertainers who hung out with Dean Martin. Frank Sinatra was great friends with David Letterman, always appeared on The Late Show with Dave, and was an iconic guest with Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show. So Tom Dreesen passed away today. I was shocked by it because he was one of the great, great entertainers that we've ever seen in regards to just a fun guy. And the stories that he told about the Rat Pack and walking in with Sinatra, he wasn't a great friend. I wouldn't consider us friends, but acquaintances. But he was really cool, man. Tom Dreesen, rest in peace. That's a really tough one there. Oh, and then the last thing I want to get you. Sometimes, tomorrow we're going to have Phil Villapiano on. He's going to join us right at the top of the show. So no monologue tomorrow. We got Phil for a half hour on his new book, Just Tackle, Baby. It's a great new book. So he's going to join us over the phone. We're going to interview Phil. I'm going to have to remind Fu that this is a PG show. It's not my satellite show. It's not my podcast. We're going to have to tell him that, but he'll be great. And he's going to join us. And then we're going to have an AVP volleyball player in studio, because the AVP is the best volleyball league out there. They're at Resorts World. And St. John Smith's son, who's one of the great volleyball players now, is going to come in. So we're going to talk AVP volleyball for a little bit. It's summer radio. We do summer radio here, and we'll get into that. So we got a lot more to cover. That'll be tomorrow. Levi Edwards joins us at the bottom of the hour. But what I wanted to tell you real quick is that the way I prep for my show is I'm always on the radio. I was on the radio for 4 hours last night, so nothing happened when I went to bed. Right, everything that I did for 4 hours is fresh and ready right now, unless someone got arrested or someone got, in trouble, or they made a big announcement or a coaching hire. And yeah, the Vegas Golden Knights made a coaching hire. How about that? So I wanted to mention this about VGK and what the Golden Knights did, because they did not fire John Tortorella at all. They did not fire him. They didn't renew him. That's it. So they decided to go from their minor league system, and they bring in Ryan Craig, who I have mutual friends with, and he will be the 5th coach in the history of the Vegas Golden Knights. We will welcome him. I'm pretty sure we'll get him on the air, and we'll talk to him, and we'll welcome him, and I'll love the guy because I want Vegas to win. Okay, so that's really cool. And yesterday, shout out to Alex Eshelman, who I was interviewing yesterday because she went back to UFC. She covers the Knights. And she interrupted me at the end. No, JT, seriously, this Ryan Craig guy's the real deal. And she convinced me that he was going to become the head coach, or gave me the impression that it could happen. So I want to give Alex Eshelman her shout out from ABC 13 because she nailed it. She had it first, I think. She was one to have it first. And my buddy Billy Cancun, who I call the Hockey Nostradamus, also told me this was a done deal a day or two ago. And for John Tortorella, let me repeat, he did not get fired. He didn't have a contract. He didn't get fired. A lot of times what I do in radio, people don't get fired. Their contracts don't get renewed. If you've been doing a deal, if you had a job for 10 years and they didn't renew your contract, you didn't get fired. They didn't renew your contract. So don't put out there on social media that John Tortorella got fired. He didn't get fired. They didn't renew his contract because they felt like they had the right guy here. They had the right guy here, and we'll wish him well. You know, a lot of coaches get fired, and that brings me to the last thing for the monologue. You should be dialing in if you want to get through in the monologue. If I see you on hold, I'll take your call, 702-365-9200. So I was mentioning how I prep every day. I call people in the car. Like I drive, I got about a 6-minute commute here from the mean streets of Summerlin. And I ended up calling Fred Biletnikoff. And Fred Biletnikoff and I talked because I missed him as I was out of town. He was there at Raider practice. And Freddie's like a second dad to me. I have one dad. I just spent my trip with him. And I was able to talk to Fred, and he was at the practices at mandatory minicamp. And I asked him what he thought because he was at practice with the coaches, and he had an unbelievable time. He said there was no nonsense. There was teaching. There was great coaching, teaching, great communication. Quote, no nonsense, no high fives. It was work. And then I was talking to Freddie, and he said something interesting to me that I never heard him say in all these years. As our Wi-Fi just went down, for those who are streaming, give it a minute. Someone will climb on the roof, and we will fix this. I promise. Colin, I don't want you to have to climb on the roof. You're a big guy. I don't want that to happen here, but we will get Wi-Fi back here momentarily. Radio, you can listen on the Raiders mobile app. But the thing I wanted to mention is Freddie said, it's practice, it's football. And I was like, what do you mean? And Freddie said, it's practice, it's football. And what I think he meant by that is just go play football. Go play football. Just go out there and do it and practice football and do it. And Freddie was really impressed with the weight room, the practices, the energy, the communication, the coaching, the details that he saw, because he's one of the greatest players to ever live. Fred Biletnikoff is one of the greatest preparation players ever. Fred Biletnikoff spent more time on technique, footwork, hands, catching the ball before and after practice, you could say, than anyone. Maybe Jerry Rice. Fred Biletnikoff, and he was super impressed with what he saw. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not putting words in Fred's mouth. That doesn't mean the Raiders are going to win X amount of games. But to have Fred Biletnikoff driving around in a golf cart, in a work cart at practice, and the coaches seeing him there, that's really cool. And the other Raider coaches have done that in the past, too. They embrace the alumni. But that was really nice to talk to Freddie before the show today and for him to have some really cool things to say about all the coaches, not just the head coach, who he's very impressed with, all of the coaches and their attention to teaching in detail, which I think has been missed over the years. There's some coaches that have gone through a couple of different regimes. Robbie Leonard, right? Robbie Leonard's the defensive coordinator. He worked under Pete Carroll and Patrick Graham and the other coaches there, but it's just different now. And again, do we have to look back at the past? I don't think we have to look at the past. I think we can look towards the future. The past for the Raiders has not been good lately when it comes to what we're seeing with wins and losses. It hasn't been good at all. But now we're seeing that the Raiders have a new regime. and attention to detail and maybe a different style of coaching with newer coaches who maybe have better chemistry than the other coaches. That doesn't mean the other coaches weren't bad. Antonio Pierce, Josh McDaniels has got a resume like you wouldn't believe, but not as a head coach. Pete Carroll, he's a borderline or potential, maybe you think already a Hall of Famer. Pete Carroll, you can't take away his legacy and wins. But Klaniak's our new guy, and we want him to win. 702-365-9200. That was one hell of a monologue. I mentioned my buddy Tom Dreesen. Kansas City beat me up on Twitter. Fred Biletnikoff. Golden Knights have a new head coach. Man, that's a pretty good monologue. I got to give myself credit because I'm getting killed today on Twitter from Kansas City. I mean, they're literally doing radio shows about me today. All right. They should call me JT the Nick, not the Brick, because my Knicks won. And if you'd like to call in on the Knicks before the parade tomorrow and you haven't got a chance to do that, you can do that. All right. A special announcement. We welcome Fletcher Azul Tequila, one of the greatest brands in celebrity tequila, in great tasting tequila. Was on a business meeting with them this morning. We welcome in we've had tequila partners before. This is a big one. This is big boy radio advertising here. And Aspen Vodka. What is Aspen Vodka? Yeah, get ready for this. The official vodka of the Las Vegas Raiders. When you go in to that stadium and you want a Raiderade, you know they have a drink called the Raiderade, like Gatorade, but Raiderade with Aspen Vodka. And they are this is going to rub people hopefully in a good way. Aspen Vodka is the official vodka of the New York Yankees. Woo! Oh, wait a second. The official vodka of the Las Vegas Raiders at Allegiant Stadium and the official vodka of my New York Yankees. You want to talk about a match made in heaven? Whew. And look, I've liked a lot of vodkas over the years. You know, we've promoted many of them. But, hey, here we go. We welcome Aspen Vodka to the show, along with some other exciting announcements about some new partnerships. We just don't do radio. We knock on doors. Here, we knock on doors, and we build partnerships here. That's why this is a great company, Lotus Broadcasting. Yeah, I'm pumped up today. I needed the Raider Nation today. I needed the protection of the shield because Kansas City is coming to get me. They're coming to get. If I was doing a live show in Kansas City today, I would not get out alive. I would need SWAT to get me in and out of the remote. But fortunately, I don't live in Kansas City. I live in Vegas.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by The Black Hole. Become a member of football's most notorious fans.
Gino to throw. He's looking down the middle to the end zone. Caught Bowers. Back in the end zone in tight coverage. Touchdown Raiders. Brock Bowers was sandwiched between a defender and the end line and hauled it in for a 7-yard touchdown grab, his 7th of the season, and the Raiders are an extra point away from tying it up early in the second quarter.
Love that, Jason Horowitz called. JT back with you live in Vegas. I was gone for about 10 days, a little weekend, 2 shows here. Good to be back, refreshed and ready. I'm heading to the World Cup with my youngest son, whose birthday is tomorrow. We're heading to the World Cup in a week. Got a little downtime coming later on in July, and then we get to work. Real work, that's training camp, where Levi Edwards is always working to get you the content that you want from the Raiders digital team. And Levi, thanks for joining us. I'll jump right in. Would you like to congratulate me on my Knicks?
I would like to congratulate you on your Knicks.
Thank you.
I felt like that was going to come up pretty quick.
Okay.
At the end of the day, I mean, I'm not going to disparage your New York Knicks that have, they ended a 53-year drought. Mm-hmm. So I will not disparage them in any way, form, or fashion. What I will say is that the San Antonio Spurs were just not ready for the moment. They are just still a very young, immature team. Even though you are champions, I feel most of that is to the Spurs' detriment. I feel like they beat themselves in 4 of those games. of really just not keeping their foot on the gas, or not the amazing coaching, or just really bad mental mistakes. I think that the Knicks were just ready for the opportunity. I think it was a really good matchup for them. I think that they were in a much better boat facing the Spurs than they would have been facing the Thunder. So you also have to thank God for Chet Holmgren for why the Knicks are NBA champions as well, for not coming up in that Game 7 the way that he should have. So with that being said, Jalen Brunson is a dog. OG Anunoby is a dog. Cat is a cat, I guess you could say. Josh Hart, he played his part. He played his role. Mitchell Robinson, he played his part. He played his role. He's supposed to, get after Wemby, make things difficult for him. He did that down the stretch. And now you're NBA champions. Really good team. I think Mike Brown has been a very underrated coach for a really long time, even dating back to his 2007 appearance in the finals with the Cavs and LeBron. So I'm really happy for Mike Brown as well. He was definitely I think Mike Brown might be the guy that puts you guys over the top to win this championship if you look at this team from last year to now. So shout out to him as well.
Yeah, that's a great analysis from you. The Spurs were stupid. They were dumb. They missed shots that they never should have took. And I've apologized about Mike Brown now for well over a month and a half, considering what he did here. I will tell you this, droughts are interesting because you work for the Raiders, and the Raiders have a proud history. As you walk in that building every day, you walk by 3 Lombardi trophies. Raiders have been in a bit of a drought. And when you hang through the drought, like I have with the Knicks, and you get through the drought and you don't leave and you don't jump off the bandwagon, not that you ever would, you're an employee, but the fans, it feels that much better. And you grew up as a kid as a sports fan with your family, and teams that hang in there during the tough times, when the pendulum swings back, you feel like you're much more deserving of celebrating the championship.
Absolutely. And I think the only thing that I can, think of in my personal life that even compares to this is I grew up a Los Angeles Lakers fan, and that's a fan base, and that's a team that hasn't had really too many hardships ever. Pretty spoiled fan base. But obviously you had that kind of era. You had that time when, Kobe was declining, and then the team was trash, and you were just kind of sending out anybody in the starting lineup, in those 2010s. Just really bad basketball being played, and you're just kind of suffering through it. But that's only about a 4 or 5 year gap of time before you get LeBron and Rondo and all those guys, and they make that run for their bubble championship. But that's about 5 or 6 years of a drought that I had to deal with of having a bad team. Where the Knicks, I think what the Knicks, that their fan base is incredible, and it's just been so long, just an incredible drought. And not only the drought that you have to deal with, but it wasn't all bad throughout that time. There were a lot of moments in time throughout that where the Knicks had the opportunity to end it. And that's what makes it so much better of a feeling, I know, for you now, JT, where this is a drought that could have ended 20, 30 years ago in the 90s with Patrick Ewing. And it just never happened because of Jordan, or because of Hakeem, or because of Tim Duncan, or because of whoever. So now there's nobody who's in that way. There's no if, ands, or buts. There's no more hypothetical situations for you, JT. You are NBA champion. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. And that's really a good way to look at it. Once a drought ends, you got to prove you can do it again. Levi Edwards. So I mentioned today a conversation I had with Fred Biletnikoff. I know you saw him at practice at mandatory minicamp, and he was really impressed with the teaching and the coaching and the style of coaching, and just, not a lot of rah-rah stuff. They just went to work. What can you tell us about the work ethic that you saw, the coaching style so far, just the view you had of Clint Kubiak, and most importantly, Levi, the rest of the coaches who have not been in the building long, but now they're Raider coaches? What has impressed you the most?
Kind of what you just touched on. I'm not going to say anything negative about any other coaching staffs or any other regimes that I've noticed since I've been here. But what I will say is that this is a very serious team. Very serious coaching staff. Not in the sense that they're not personable, not like they're just mean or off-putting, but they're just very serious. They're here to work. They're here to come in here and do their job and be efficient with their time. And I noticed that in practice, just with the way that they coach the team, with the intention, the detail, and the attentiveness that they have on the field. I just noticed it. It just jumps out. And you notice that with each position group, and just how much detail and attention they put into it. how I guess bone and dry it is in the sense of going over drills and repeating it, going over and over again until everybody gets it right. Things of that nature, just very much kind of your stereotypical old school football practice. Like you said, not a whole lot of rah-rah, not a whole lot of, other stuff to get people hyped. If you're not hyped to come and play football, then, I don't know what to tell you. There shouldn't be anything else added on top of it. So I think it definitely is a serious component to it. We really just have to continue to keep establishing that and having that all-ball mentality, but however, still finding ways to keep yourself personable and reach the people on different levels. So as long as they continue to do that, the results will come.
Levi Edwards from the Raiders, digital team, Raiders.com, everything Raiders. Levi's one of the best. So what'll be interesting, working and covering this team this long is when they take their break. They deserve a break. Football players deserve a summer. A lot of them get married. A lot of them go on vacation. They go visit their families. They take care of their personal life because they're so engulfed in football when the season starts, and then they come in and hit the ground running. What's fascinating, and I know you know this, and with your health and fitness, it's great that this team has the ability to stay back in Henderson and work out and use the facility and have the resources that they have at the Intermountain Health Performance Center because they want to stay in shape, and it seems like that's the message, am I right, that Clint Kubiak said, to stay in shape and be ready for camp.
Yeah. No, you can Clint Kubiak actually said it verbatim. He said you can ruin the offseason in 40 days. And that's how much time from the end of minicamp until the start of training camp that he was referencing. So obviously you can have all of these great things happen to you in a minicamp, and you can come into OTAs and run around in shorts and look great, and everybody's locked in and doing what they got to do and working out. And then you go through about a month and a half of just chilling, and if you're not in your playbook, you're not staying in shape, you're not eating right, you're not doing the things that you need to do in order to get right for training camp or for the upcoming season, you're going to be behind. You're not going to be on this team, or you're not going to play on this team. And so it is really important that, yes, you're enjoying this time and you're trying to get your mind off of football a little bit and enjoy the people around you. We all need to do that. I need to do that. But at the end of the day, you got to continue to make sure that you're preparing for the future. Make sure you're locked in. Make sure you're still, eating kind of right, eating remotely decent, making sure you still getting a couple of lifts in, making sure you're keeping your head in the playbook. You still got to do those things. At the end of the day, this is your profession. This is your job. And that's for all 32 NFL teams. This just doesn't just apply to the Raiders, obviously. Every NFL player right now who's going into a training camp has to do the same thing right now.
Yeah, so as we wrap this up, give me one big takeaway. I love when you do this. You write great columns. You're interviewing everybody. One thing that you're now really excited about with this roster that can change, because it's important that this thing changes quickly. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll happen really fast. But you believe will be the agent of change for the Las Vegas Raiders to get this thing on track?
Probably just point to the front seven of the defense. I think that's what I would look at right now. I think the most surefire thing that I think will be vastly improved or be pretty good this upcoming season, because you have to account for the fact that there's a couple of guys that weren't even on the field throughout OTAs and throughout minicamp that you're going to get back for training camp that are going to be immediate contributors. Obviously, we know what Max Crosby can do. You get him back. Kobe Dean is a guy that I thought played really good football in Philadelphia, and you get him back next to a guy that he's very familiar with in Quay Walker. You had a lot of really good additions that you made to that front seven with your linebackers and your defensive line, with bringing back Malcolm, bringing in Kwity Paye. You're starting to establish a little bit of an interior line rotation with Booker and Adam Butler and Tonka and J.J. McGeese and those guys. And obviously, Rob Leonard wants to be versatile. He wants to be multiple within his defense. So, having a base 3-4, but also being able to do a lot of different things with the linebackers that he's bringing in and also the defensive line that he's bringing in. So I really do like that front seven. I think it's going to be a much better front seven this year than we saw last year. All the stuff with the missed tackles and the missed assignments that we saw last year. I think that that's going to definitely be dwindled down a lot. But it has to be proven in training camp. We have to see it. But that's what I think so far, just early on. I think that's probably going to be the thing that I'm most excited to see going into training camp, is that front seven, seeing them big boys.
All right, Levi, we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. Other than America, do you have a World Cup team? Are you rooting for I root for England. They're playing Croatia. Why? Because I watch English Premier League soccer religiously, so I'm familiar with a lot of the England players. Any other team that you're giving some interest to for the World Cup?
Well, one, I never knew you were a soccer guy, JT.
Yeah.
I did not know you were a Premier League guy. That's actually the first that we've ever talked about that. That's crazy. But I will say this, just off of nostalgia, I'm probably going to go with Argentina, just because I'm not a huge soccer guy, but I remember growing up and watching the World Cups. I just remember how much of a dog Lionel Messi was and is. Like, just every year in the World Cup watching Argentina, he was killing people on the field. Like, he's probably the best soccer player I've seen with my own two eyes. So with that being said, I've just inherently have just always kind of been the low-key Argentina guy because of Messi. And so I'm probably going to be rooting for them as my second team behind America just because of him, just because he's the GOAT, for real.
Well, then look at my Argentina tweet and come protect me. You're a big guy. You could fight off everyone that wants to hurt me today in Kansas City and get back to me later. You could be my bodyguard the next time I go to KC. Take care, my friend. We'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
I appreciate you, JT.
There you got Levi Edwards from the digital team of the Raiders. Now, Levi, I asked him, and I know Q does a great job with this all the time when he breaks down position groups and they go from, position battle to position battle. I asked Levi what was the agent of change, and he said the front seven, right? He just said that. I disagree. I think the agent of change is the Raiders' offensive line. That's, to me, the biggest turnaround is Linderbaum at center. And a healthy Colt Miller and whoever starts. That will turn this franchise around quicker and better than anything else. They've got to get that offensive line not good, but really good and up to speed to blow this whole league away sooner than later. All right, when we come back, next hour, Kurt Helin will join us, one of the great basketball insiders. He covers the NBA. He wanted to come on and talk about the Knicks winning the title. I'm still talking about the Knicks. Parade's not even here yet. The parade is tomorrow for the Knicks, so I'm all over that. We want to thank our friends at Boyd Gaming. 10 local casino properties in Vegas. Remember, Boyd Gaming, always bet on black.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by Modelo Especial, the new #1 beer in the U.S.
Now, in this particular case, if there is a supplemental draft, teams would have to put in a bid, decide whether to put in a bid in each round. So a team could decide to put in a first-round pick. I think I'd be surprised by that. Surprised by that in part because nobody knows exactly where they'll be picking. But the draft next year is so good, and nobody knows where they're going to be picking. I have a hard time believing that teams are going to be willing to give up the first-round pick for Brandon Sorsby with some of the questions. Could I see the second round? I could. Mm-hmm. Could I see the third round? Yeah. I think once we get past the third round, any round is possible.
All right, that's Adam Schefter on Brandon Sorsby, who is getting kicked out of college football for gambling. A very serious gambling problem and addiction that ruined his college football career. JT, back with you. We're brought to you by Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, One Love. I was off for a little bit, and I talk Raising Cane's every day on this radio show. Every day, I don't forget, I talk Raising Cane's. I love Raising Cane's. I'm a Caniac. My kids live at the drive-thru. They live at the store by my house, Fort Apache and Sahara. We love Raising Cane's. So if you're looking to have a tailgate party for the World Cup, you want a World Cup tailgate, just go to Cane's. Get it all set, get it going, get jugs of lemonade. Go out there. If you don't love the lemonade, you love the iced tea, it's just as good. I love the coleslaw. I love everything about it. The sauce they make in store every day. Best sauce you could ever have for dipping those fingers in the buttery Texas toast. Raising Cane's chicken fingers, one love. So why is this Brandon Sorsby story so important? Let me tell you quickly. My sons are 25 and 22. One's turning 23 tomorrow. Happy birthday to my young gun. And they're great kids. And they went to college, and they know a lot of people who gamble. I taught them to do whatever they want to do responsibly. Gambling is an epidemic in this country with young men in their 20s. Now, people in their 30s and 40s and 50s have something different than young men in their 20s. Jobs. They have money. Now, there are exceptions. Some kids who are 22 years old have great jobs and they got a couple $100,000 in the bank. That's very rare. That's almost impossible. So what we're seeing is a college quarterback at Texas Tech, before that, Cincinnati, a very good player who was definitely going to the NFL in the first round as a quarterback. No debate. But he had such a bad time in college handling his gambling addiction. Now he can't play in college. He has to hope that the NFL has a supplemental draft. They haven't had one since 2023, and they will entertain the opportunity for him to come to the supplemental draft. Now, what is the supplemental draft? Terrell Pryor came to the Raiders. I was there. I was the first guy ever to interview Terrell Pryor for the Raiders when he came to the Raiders as a quarterback. He had problems at Ohio State. He had to go through the supplemental draft. Turned out to be a really good kid. You know, he didn't pan out to be a great player in the NFL, but a great kid. He had one of the greatest runs in the history of the NFL as a quarterback. Was it 90 yards? Someone correct me in the chat. Was it 89 yards, 90 yards? It was one of the greatest runs, and I was on the sideline for that. I'll never forget it. It was brilliant. So I'm assuming Sorsby's going to be allowed to come into the NFL. And then what's going to happen is teams are going to bid on him. It's like an auction. So if the Raiders didn't have Mendoza, the Raiders could say, okay, we'll take a third-round pick and throw it into this auction. And if we have the highest bid, if the third-round pick's the highest bid, he goes to the Raiders. Well, someone's going to give up a second or third-round pick for this guy if they think he could be a quarterback. He's a first-round pick next year, guaranteed, but he's not going to play this year in college, and he's not going to play this year in the NFL. Right, so supplemental draft, you got to decide if you want to take one of your draft picks from next year, a third, a fourth, a fifth round pick, maybe a second round pick. Thank you, Big D. 93-yard touchdown run. Greatest run I've ever seen by a Raider quarterback ever. Nothing even close. So I think he's going to be picked up. I think someone's going to spend at least a third round pick. I wouldn't be shocked a second round pick, but that'll be costly. But we shouldn't care about any of that. We should care about the young man's gambling addiction, his anxiety. What happens if he's not ready mentally to play? What happens if he has a really big disorder like many young men with gambling and they can't control it? Let's stop thinking about sports and let's stop thinking about humans and people that are going through mental health, anxiety, addictions. He's got a big one. Will the rehab that he had clean it up? I don't know. I hope it does. But I would give him a chance in the NFL. This isn't a Raider topic because the Raiders have Mendoza, Kirk Cousins, and Aiden O'Connell. So this is not a big deal for the Raiders. But some team like the Jets with Geno Smith or the Arizona Cardinals, this could be their guy. Hour number 1 is done. Went pretty good. I'll reset here at the top of the hour. England, Croatia. This is a big boy soccer game about to start. Kurt Helin will join us, and we'll get into what the Knicks did. And what about Giannis Antetokounmpo? Could Giannis go to the Warriors or the Miami Heat? That'll be coming up in hour number 2 on Raider Nation Radio.
It's the JT the Brick Show.
You just get up every day and you take one step at a time and you keep going and you show up. We have a big mountain to climb, but we're not trying to do it all in one day.
Your silver and black home to sound off for over 25 years.
It's really important to me that we're a gritty team, that the way that they were back in the old days. It's nothing that we say, it's what we do on the field. All the little things that win that have nothing to do with scheme.
And now, here's JT the Brick.
We're back, hour number 2. JT, if you're tuning in for the first time, thanks for joining us here. We got a hell of a soccer game on right now. It's just about to start. It is starting. England, Croatia. That's a heavyweight fight. If this was a semifinal game, weeks from now, I'd watch and say this is a big game. The United States, Australia coming up on Friday during the show, right when we're on. So that'll be pretty interesting. What I would encourage when it comes to the World Cup is go to a bar. That's the best of advice I can ever give you. If you're going to watch the World Cup, get to a soccer bar in your town. Where do you find the soccer bar? ChatGPT or Google. Real easy. For years, I've been watching certain soccer games in bars. McMullen's Irish pub here. If you go down there and watch it, it'll be off the hook. Off the hook. Reraw over at Mandalay Bay, I'm sure will be great. All of our proud partners, all of our casino partners. Anywhere you're watching, listening, here you go into a bar and you just watch it. My buddy does a big promotion for Wahoo's Fish Tacos. They have great bars. One by my house. They're the home of Brazil at one of their locations, I believe, at Boca Park. So wherever you go, you maybe go to the George at Durango. You go anywhere you want to go. I would go to the M. We got a partnership with the M. We got a great partnership with Boyd Gaming, with all their proud partners. Go check it out. Open phone lines, we should never have one. We have the World Cup, but the thing that has bothered me the most, and yes, I have a personality, and I get happy and I get angry. I'm troubled by the fact that this town doesn't talk hockey. I'm troubled by it because it's a failure. It's a failure that sports radio in Vegas does not have 9 people calling in every day on hockey. And we're really the only network station in town, right? We got 9 radio stations here. So we do have a hockey station here, but they're not on right now. And if they were, they'd be talking hockey. We hired a new head coach today. That's a pretty big deal. If they did that in New York, Detroit, Toronto, Denver, the phones would be rocking. So if you're a Vegas Golden Knight fan or a Silver Knights fan, you should be on with me today congratulating the new head coach who just got the job. Kelly McCrimmon has announced that Ryan Craig will be the 5th coach in the franchise's history. And I can tell you this much, man. They talked about all the other coaches, Gerard Gallant, Peter DeBoer, John Tortorella, Bruce Cassidy. They all had winning records here, man. We've been lucky. Normally, coaches get fired and whacked because they don't win. That's not the case here, man. You got to win or they're not going to keep you. This team is all about winning championships. Same thing with the Raiders. All Mark Davis wants to do is win the Super Bowl, but they're not. So they're going to have to find a way to win games and get to the playoffs and then get to the playoffs and win the Super Bowl. Vegas has been very fortunate with the Golden Knights that they just continue to win. So why so much turnover at the coaching position? Why? I don't know. Coaches wear people out. And people are wondering, did John Tortorella wear the team out? No, I don't think he wear them out. Players love playing for him. But he's getting up there in age. Right? They want to go young. They got a guy here locally in town who they really like, and they groomed him, and they thought he was ready, and now he gets it. Now he gets the opportunity. Why wouldn't everybody today congratulate this head coach for getting that job? So Vegas-born Ryan Craig takes the helm for VGK. Gary Lawless put out a great column on this, so go check it out there. I'll retweet it right now. It's fantastic. Gary Lawless, the insider, put that out there. So if you're a Vegas hockey fan and you can hear my voice, or if you're listening to us and watching on YouTube, tell me why you think this is a good move to go young. And he's 44. He's not a kid. He's not a kid. He's been doing this a long time. But are you okay with someone new from the minor leagues who's been behind the bench and been in the NHL, but coming up from Henderson to take this job as a season ticket holder, 702-365-9200? Do you love this move? Do you think it makes sense? Or do you think they should have waited and got another veteran coach? And if you're going to get a veteran coach, you keep John Tortorella, right? You just keep Tortorella and have him go. So for season ticket holders and Golden Knight fans, how excited are you about this hire? I would like to welcome the coach. I'd like everybody today to at least participate in welcoming a new head coach to Vegas. I'd say that about any team. If it was the Aces, we have Becky Hammond, right? If it was the Aviators, I'd say with any team here in town. You know, Josh Pastner with UNLV basketball, we welcomed him the first day he got the job. You want to do that. You want to welcome these guys and hope they get the job done and get it rolling. So I'm excited. I think it's good. Alex Eshelman joined us yesterday, and she was leaning in that direction, that they were going to go in this direction. So congratulations to Ryan Craig on being named the head coach of the Vegas Golden Knights. And that comes from the Henderson Silver Knights, who put that out, the proud affiliate of the Golden Knights. I think that's a good storyline as we get going. As I said earlier in the show, Kansas City's coming after me today. They're attacking me. They're coming after me hard. Fortunately, it's only X. It's not like I'm a Spurs fan walking down the streets of New York City. It's just only on X because I said they've never had in Kansas City at Arrowhead a celebration like they saw with Argentina last night, where they were dancing in the concourses with the flag of their country draped over the concourse. I've seen the Chiefs walk out of their building chanting the Tomahawk chant with their winter coats and screaming, but that's different than what we saw last night, Colin. We talked about this before the show. Different, but it's enraged Kansas City.
It's so funny because, I went to go check out your tweet, and there's this new thing now that Twitter does with these called community notes. And the fact that you had Kansas City fans so riled up, they had to go start looking up archives of old times where they filled out Concord. I mean, it is just so funny to see these people so excited because, again, you didn't do anything wrong. You weren't necessarily attacking them. You just made a point about how Argentina is really celebrating the love of their team, and that's something that is great to see nowadays.
Yeah, I would like some protection from the Raider Nation on this topic because they're mocking us because we don't have soccer at Allegiant Stadium. We've had plenty of soccer, but not the World Cup. And we're looking at a scenario now where we, are we as passionate as other fan bases in sports? I say no. I'm talking all of us in the United States. Is it fair for me to say that soccer fans are better than us? Pregnant pause. Pause for drama. Is it fair to say that soccer fans from Europe are better than us in regards to their love for sports? I think that's accurate. I think that European soccer fans and soccer fans from Argentina and Brazil are more into their country and their teams than we are.
And, they do it in a very, I want to say, honorable way because we talk about, when New York had won the championship and not necessarily Knicks fans, but just people out there taking advantage of the situation and ruining the city. Philadelphia a few years ago when they won the Super Bowl, people climbing up the telephone poles and knocking signs over. It's not the same as, like you said, some of these other European football, soccer leagues where it's like a celebration. It's a parade. And that, I think, is the beauty in it. It's not just chaos. It's organized. It's a true celebration.
Yeah, I agree with you. Colin's running the show for Clay this week. He loves sports, and that's okay. We're the greatest country in the world, but we're not great at everything. We're not. We're not great at everything. We got a lot of flaws. It's our 250th birthday. It hasn't been pretty, but we're the greatest country in the world. The greatest country in the world. Ooh, thanks for the heads up here. My son just got in the chat and said Harry Kane's got a penalty kick. England's about to score. He better not miss this. Come on, England. Here comes Harry Kane, the captain of England, with a penalty shot here to try to give England a 1-0 lead, and it was blocked. Wow, it was blocked. It was blocked. Harry Kane, now they're going to challenge it, saying the goaltender might have left early. Remember, you're not allowed to leave early if you're a goalie. You're not allowed to go early. You got to wait. So they're going to review it because that's all we do here in America now is we review everything. You see the players now, they make that little twirl with their fingers. Every time someone gets fouled or every time there's a strike right down the middle, they say, challenge. I don't believe it. No, they do it. So they are going to look. They're going to check this penalty kick, so I'll get you an update when that comes down the pipe here. 702-365-9200. I think it's fair to say that the one thing that we learn about the World Cup every 4 years, and it's never here, right? We had it here for the women. The greatest soccer countries in the world should host the World Cup. And we got it this year because we're expensive. We're the United States. We have money. We have sponsorships. And we deserve it because we have great stadiums and we have passion. But all the fans that are coming overseas to watch, and they're coming here, are loving America. There's a lot of social media all over about these fans that are going to Waffle House and they're going to Buc-ee's and they're coming to casinos and they're going, wow, I've never been to America. This is great. And I really think that's good for us here in the United States. So Harry Kane of England, the captain of England, he has the captain band, he's going to go again. So they're going to give him a makeup here because the goalie went early. You can't miss 2 penalty kicks in a row. You just can't when you're the captain of England. I mean, they run you out of the country. So let's see here as Harry Kane goes and he scores. England won. England scores over Croatia in the 11th minute. Harry Kane, who I met and took a great picture with on the sideline at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium when the Raiders played Chicago, played the Bears and Khalil Mack back in the day. So that is an England goal as England goes up 1-0. Levi Edwards joined us in the first hour of the broadcast and talked about what he thinks is the big point for this offseason and next year and for the turnaround. He said the defensive front 7. So I disagree with him. I think it's the offensive line. If you were going to side with me or Levi, which side would you like? Do you think the biggest turnaround of the Raiders, and it's summer radio, I don't do a lot of this, but I'll do it today because we got the World Cup. But do you believe the turnaround for the Raiders needs to start on offense or defense specifically? I'm convinced it's the offensive line because everything I'm seeing and talking within the halls of the headquarters and what they're trying to do is establish the run. They're trying to establish the run with Coach Dennison and get this team to be nasty, to be physical up front, and help out Ashton Genty. And I don't think if you can do that, if it takes 2 years to do that, that's 2 years too long. The Raiders have to figure out in July of 2026 how to get their offensive line to change dramatically. They paid Tyler Linderbaum above market at the time. Yes, above market, which I think is going to be worth it. Like buying the house of your dreams. You spend a little bit more, but you got the house you want. We got the house we wanted with Tyler Linderbaum. We got him up front. He's our guy. So with that being said, I think that's really important. It's very important to be in a situation where you have an impact guy like that can turn it around. Turn it around at that level. And then if they're able to do that, that changes down in distance. It changes the ability to move the ball. It changes the ability to rest the defense. It changes the ability to kick field goals instead of punt. This is all right up front when you look at the playbook of Clint Kubiak throughout his career as a coordinator and assistant. He wants to control the football. He wants to have plays that are so pinpoint precise. He wants to run the football with 2 backs, not 1. And he wants to work the tight end. And we have Brock Bowers, who's arguably the best tight end in football in his prime as we speak right now. So with all this being said, I think that's going to be really important. Super important for the running game to get ramped up at training camp. So when the running game has to open up against Miami, they are running it down the Dolphins' throats to the point where we're in Allegiant Stadium for the home opener and the Dolphins are getting blown up and pushed backwards. When was the last time you saw that at a Raider game? Where you tuned in onto a Raider game or you went to a game live and you watched the offensive line manhandle someone. Not a running back breaking a tackle and running for a touchdown. We've seen that. But the ability for the offensive line as a cohesive unit blow up the line of scrimmage on the other side and make people fall to the ground. That's what I want to see. And I think they have the ability to do that. But I've also predicted that I think that the Raiders will add another offensive lineman on cutdown day, that they'll go to another team that lets go of a pretty good offensive lineman due to depth or the fact that the player might be a little expensive and they want to move on with the cheaper player. And the Raiders will be able to get a starter if they like. If not, they'll develop the rest of the offensive line. So that's what I'm talking about today on the Raiders front. Offensive up front and defensive up front. Levi wanted the defense to be that pivot point that turns it around. I'm going offensive line. If you want to contribute, 702-365-9200. When we come back, Kurt Helin will join us at Basketball Talk. He'll be out here every year. We go to lunch for Summer League. He comes out here and covers Summer League, which we're really behind. It's a big promotion for us here at the station. Albert Hall and the team over at NBA Summer League. They're great friends of the show. And Kurt Helin will join us. Next time I'll see him, he'll be out here for Summer League as we continue on.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by M Resort Spa and Casino, the official hotel of the Las Vegas Raiders.
Fox to Wemby. Wemby tries a three, puts it up, off the mark. Anunoby the rebound. It's over. It's over. Knicks fans, this is not a dream. Your long, long wait has ended. Go ahead and cry. After 53 years, the Knicks are finally NBA champions once again.
I love that. I absolutely love that soundbite of Mike Breen. It was very professional on ESPN, and he happens to be the voice of the Knicks. So I didn't think he homered it up too much, but you could tell he's going to get a ring. It's going to mean a lot to him. But he was really professional. JT, back with you. I want to thank Mike and the entire team at Findlay Volvo Cars of Las Vegas. It's a good time of year. My wife and I are always looking for opportunities to test drive vehicles. We love doing that. And if you head out to see Findlay Volvo right off the 215 at Rainbow, you'll see all the EVs, all the different vehicles that are out there. When I switched over to an EV vehicle with one of our vehicles, it was a game changer. Game changer. I'll always have an EV vehicle the rest of my life because it's great. And it has nothing to do with anything else other than it's great. I have gasoline cars. I have non-gasoline cars. It's nice to have a variety if you can. You'll have multiple choices at Findlay Volvo Cars, Las Vegas. So this Knicks parade is tomorrow. And just let me say this because I hope and pray that everybody is safe. This is a big, big, big event. And no one knows how many people are going to come. Boomer Esiason was on his show today, and he thinks it could be one of the largest parades in the history of sports. New York City has the largest dense population, density when it comes to one fan base. Boomer put it very eloquently today that in New York, Met fans don't like the Yankees. Yankee fans don't really care about the Mets. The Rangers don't like the Islanders. The Islanders don't like the Rangers. The Devils don't like the Rangers. All of that. It's a Knick town. And the Knicks are going to show up, the fans, because all these other fans of different sports have one thing in common, the Knicks. And it's been 53 years. So my sister sent me an alert because my nephew's going to the parade, and she sent me this. Subway stations are closing for the Knicks ticket tape parade starting at 4:30 in the morning on Thursday. The following subway stations will be closed. They'll be reopened after the parade, after City Hall. Wall Street, City Hall. They are shutting down the Brooklyn Bridge. So what they're trying to do here is protect people. So tomorrow, all due respect to these other great cities in America, this is a big one. And safety is the most important thing. Something that I could say which would be very similar to the Knicks parade tomorrow would be New Year's Eve in Las Vegas when they shut down Las Vegas Boulevard, right? They shut it down and it's packed. They make sure they try to thwart any type of threat. They have drones, they have police, they have people on rooftops. That's exactly what's going to happen tomorrow in Lower Manhattan. And all the knuckleheads, all the idiot kids, not all of them, but some of them, who are going to think like they're funny and do something, they will get cuffed and arrested immediately. They are not messing around tomorrow, man. That parade starts at 9 in the morning, 6 a.m. this time in Vegas. So they're going to cover the parade live on Peacock. That'll be interesting to see. England on top of Croatia 1-0. 25 minutes in, Harry Kane had scored on a penalty shot for England. All right, we got him. Kurt Helin, my good friend, Basketball Talk is where you can find him. Fantastic insider from NBC Sports. Kind enough to join us to recap this. And hey, my friend, we've been doing this a long time. You know all the times I made you talk about the Knicks when they're irrelevant. Finally, the Knicks are relevant. Thanks for joining us. How do you see it?
Look, you're not the only Knicks fan who's been both long-suffering in the sense that, I mean, there were some down years, right? There were some years where this wasn't even a dream, and how do we even get back to this, and what do we have to change? And there were some years where you're like, man, why did it not come together? And it was so much fun because this team really did come together. I mean, there were questions entering the playoffs. There was Towns' frustration in finding his place in the offense, and questions about Mike Brown, all of it. But the whole vision clicked in together at just the right time. And they look, you got to be hot. You got to get a little lucky. And everything came together for them at the exact right moment. And they were an easy team to root for, which I hate to tell you this, New Yorkers, but for most of the nation, that's not an easy thing to say about New York, right? You know, but this was a fun team that played with real grit and determination, and it was just fun to watch them.
Yeah, it's really interesting on how they came together. And as I talked to you about this before, during, and in the beginning when they hired Mike Brown, I blew my top. I didn't think he deserved the interview. I thought at this stage in his career, he was nothing more than a well-liked guy, a respected bench coach, an assistant under Steve Kerr and Pop. And when you get fired by Sacramento, you don't elevate to get the Knicks job from Tom Thibodeau that went to the Eastern Conference Final. I was wrong. I did not think Mike Brown could do it, and I was blown away by his adjustments and how he got this team to turn the corner. What can you tell me with your analysis was the difference with Mike Brown when Atlanta led 2-1 early in the postseason?
That's when he and Towns really got on the same page in terms of how to run the offense. They started using him as more of a hub at that point in a high post situation, which is something he did a lot in Minnesota that was a comfort level for him, and they kind of got back to that and were able to do different things off that. And when that didn't work as well against Cleveland, because Cleveland's got really good defenders at the post in Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, they said, all right, well, we can go back to what the other things. We're so versatile. We can beat you different ways. In that case, it was, hey, man, Jalen Brunson can go hunting. You can do that different ways. I will say this for Mike Brown. He is a much better coach now. Look, Sacramento never should have fired him, but that's a whole different thing. Getting fired by Sacramento should not ding your resume.
Yeah.
but I think the years, particularly on Kerr's bench, taught him a lot about bringing a team together and cohesiveness and chemistry and using the players you have in the best possible way, and putting them in positions to succeed. And he certainly did that it took a while for Bridges to come around and get healthy, but he did that with him. He did that with Anunoby. Trusted the guys. And then the year of developing a bench, and something Tom Thibodeau didn't do, paid off when Shamet and Jose Alvarado and all these guys come in and play meaningful minutes.
Kurt Helin is our guest. Yeah, it's just incredible on how he was able to use the bench. With the Knicks winning all those series early heading into San Antonio, do you think that was the difference of them winning in 5, that their legs in the fourth quarter, when they really had to go into the deep part of the gas tank, when they were running on fumes, they were able to find that extra gear? And as San Antonio was making really bad decisions, and I'll get to that with a follow-up, that they were able to just find that gear, attack the rim with OG and Brunson, and put the series away.
I think it helped, but I also think that was where the experience factor, the Knicks had been there and had veterans who had won before, right? Brunson has been winning since college, frankly, with Hart and Bridges, right? Like, Towns had been in these moments, and that didn't show. And I was surprised how much it showed in this series, because it didn't show against Oklahoma City. But I was talking to a scout who was kind of like, hey, they played Oklahoma City a bunch during the regular season, and this is a really familiar foe, so it didn't didn't feel like the moment of the finals and this different team. It just felt like, oh, we're playing a team we know, right? That's very different than what was going on in the finals when they folded in the big moments, and Fox folded in the big moments, which is not what was supposed to happen for them.
Yeah, I think this is an incredible conversation about how coaches coach, how they make adjustments, how leaders step up. I mean, this finals had everything. So I want to get back to San Antonio. I've been doing this a long time. And as a fan and someone who covers the NBA, I have never seen a dumber team ever with the capital E with the lead. They were up by 12, 14, 17, 11, taking threes early into the shot clock. De'Aaron Fox should get a ring from James Dolan on how he missed so many shots that gave the Knicks hope. I can't tell you how many times, Kurt, I was sitting there tweeting going, I can't believe San Antonio took that shot. The Knicks get the rebound. They push it. They get an N1, and they're back in the game. What was San Antonio thinking, taking all the 8 jump shots and threes with such big lids?
It's a good question. What were they thinking? Again, I think it's a bit of a young team, and by the way, a young coach who hadn't been in this moment before. But they kept getting away from what worked, and they had stuff that worked when they got it inside. Much of this series was about like which team was getting the ball inside and working inside out more, right? Like which team was touching the paint, because Brunson would get in and do it, and there were at some point there were plenty of people with those of us who were traveling and following with these finals who were like, at what point do you start Dylan Harper and bring Fox off the bench? Because Dylan Harper was brilliant in this series, rookie or not. That guy is incredible, but he was the one getting downhill. He was the one doing things generally smarter, but they kept going. They were a young team. They kept going for the kill shot. Didn't it feel like that? Like, man, we're up 27. What we need is a couple threes to really blow this open over 30, and they'll roll over. And the Knicks, to their credit, never rolled over, never even considered rolling over. But beyond that shot, just when you're up that much, man, just you don't need that kind of kill shot. You need to just go in and take care of business, right? And just take care of the ball, run some clock, keep running your offense, and they would get away from who they are, and this is what you end up with.
All right, as we wrap this up, I want to, one more on the NBA Finals. You mentioned the travel. You went to all these games here. Any takeaway you want to give me on New York? Because I was disgusted with the behavior of some of the Knicks fans, and they were Knicks fans who were accosting San Antonio fans on the street. And you had to go from the Mecca to your hotel room. You had to go through those crowds and the police. What was your takeaway on the difference between New York City at the Garden and what you saw in San Antonio?
Well, first off, Game 3 was just weird because of the president's arrival and just the security that will come with any president. So, it was weird to walk out of people walking out of the building being like, there's nobody for blocks, right? It's just really strange, especially Midtown Manhattan on any night. But I think, man, I will tell you this as somebody who lives in LA and, grew up a Dodgers fan and has, got to enjoy that the last couple of years. There are people everywhere who are just looking to cause trouble. And I hate to be that basic about it, but they're looking for the excuse and oh, hey, the Knicks won. There's my, I can go nuts and do this. And I don't want to lay that on every Knicks fan, but those fans, quote unquote, exist for, I don't know, we'll wait and see when Argentina or whomever, France or whatever wins the World Cup and get those reports out of there about how the same thing happened there. So.
All right. Lastly, you got great coverage on Giannis. And I've also been saying I thought Giannis would be perfect in New York for the Knicks over the last 4 or 5 years. Number one media market, international player, nice fit. He gets a ring with Milwaukee. Why not go to the bigger market and do that? Taxes and money all add into that. But from what I've been reading here and from you, Miami, I think Miami makes a lot of sense because of Pat Riley's connection still with the organization. Good ownership. Obviously, no state taxes. Playing with the palm trees and the beach, international city here. Where do you think Giannis could end up? Well, who are the top 2 to 3 leading candidates?
Really, right now it's a two-team race, and I keep hearing more and more it's Miami. Boston is the other team that's in the mix. Every other team you've heard, Minnesota, or I think Orlando gets mentioned occasionally, they're not there. That's not going on right now. It's Milwaukee trying to get the best deal they can, so they're trying to create buzz about other teams because it's still a negotiation and it's about leverage. But it looks more and more like Miami because the only way Boston does it is if they trade Jaylen Brown. And honestly, JT, if you're going to trade Jaylen Brown, and you'd have to put in other players and picks, you get older, you get a guy in Giannis who is if you want, gets to the rim, pressures the rim, doesn't shoot threes, forces Joe Mazzulla to play differently if that's what you want to do. But do you really get better? I don't know that you get that much. I don't know that it's worth the trouble. I don't think.
Wait a second. Are you telling me, or am I sensing from you, Giannis doesn't have multiple great years left in his prime?
Oh, I think whoever trades for him, Miami included, you're going to have to extend him, and you've got next season and a couple more. He's 31 to 33, 34 before you can't really trust him to hold up physically. And I'm not even sure you can now. The last three playoffs, he hasn't been 100%. So if you're Boston, to me, that's just, and it's a much more complex trade because Milwaukee doesn't want a guy in their prime like Brown. So now you got to bring in a third team to take on Brown. And it gets much stickier and it's much cleaner and easier. And it's just kind of easier to envision. And I'll just tell you, I've got a lot of people who think Boston was feeling things out and they're checking out a lot of things because they were frustrated with how last season ended, but they weren't really that serious. They weren't going all the way serious with this. So I think it's going to be, I would be surprised at this point if it's not Miami, but if you're Milwaukee, man, the draft's a week away. There's no reason you have to make this decision today.
Yeah, absolutely. Great coverage, brilliant coverage as always. I'll see you out here as we always do for Summer League. Take care, my friend.
I am looking forward to it, man. Thank you.
Thank you. See Kurt Helin out here when he comes out here for NBA Summer League. I should be getting some copy on that pretty soon as the NBA Summer League is going to come out here. It's going to be massive because they're coming off a great draft. So the draft is coming up, the NBA draft. It's loaded. So as we talk about the NFL draft class that just came in to the league, not the Raiders. I thought the Raiders did pretty good they got Mendoza, right? They did pretty good. But when you look at this draft that's coming up for the NBA, as they already had the lottery, it's loaded. All of those players picked in the NBA draft coming up here will be in Vegas for NBA Summer League. So you're going to see a loaded draft class, which quite honestly makes for a better Summer League. I mean, Summer League's always pretty good. But when you have a great draft class that's really good, you enjoy it. Croatia just scored on England. It's 1-1. We are in the 38th minute. As soon as I get out of here, in about 20 minutes, I'm heading in my backyard, and I'm going to have a beverage and watch this and see how this game comes out. This is going to be one hell of a game. This, to me, is not a first-round match. This is, if you are fortunate enough to get a ticket to this one, this is a big boy event. Portugal with the tie today with Cristiano Ronaldo. He did not look like Messi. The big story in sports was last night. Messi and Argentina played at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. Messi had a hat trick, so he is on pace to have a legendary big-time performance here coming up in the World Cup. 702-365-9200. Ryan Craig is the new head coach of the Vegas Golden Knights. If you want to talk about that, I think that's a big topic going forward here. Vegas made an aggressive move. And as I just tweeted out, I thought this was an interesting comment by Kelly McCrimmon, who is the GM of the team. This is according to Sinbin Vegas, at Sinbin Vegas. Quote, John Tortorella wanted to coach our team again, but we wanted to give this opportunity to Ryan Craig. Wow. What? Okay. I'm okay with this because they're good. They're really good at the decisions that they're making. But basically, Kelly McCrimmon went on record to say that John Tortorella wanted to come back. He led him to the Stanley Cup. And we're going young with the 44-year-old coach from the Henderson Silver Knights. No problem with that. All good. JT, all in. Get in the pool, all in with this. Because this is a good decision to go young. The guy who knows the organization, knows all the prospects, knows all the minor leaguers, very familiar with the players on the team already, and that should be good. So that's really going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Is it a risky move? Yeah, it's risky. John Tortorella wanted to come back, according to the GM, and they wanted to go younger with the new coach who doesn't have the head coaching experience of John Tortorella. Risk or reward. That's the decision here, but man, everything this team has done in regards to coaching pretty much has worked out. So if you're a hockey fan, what do you think of that move now that you see that quote? That's a pretty intense quote there that shows that this team is not messing around. They plan to be back, forged in goal, with a lot of veterans who want to win. The window has not closed for the Vegas Golden Knights to win the Stanley Cup, but when you get to the Stanley Cup final, you got to win. And I thought we had the momentum here in Vegas and just couldn't take advantage of that. All right, when we come back, we'll wrap it up on the other side. Q Myers is coming up with a big show as always. We'll tell you what we have the rest of the week. Monday, I'm honored again to be the MC for the Raiders Draft Class Luncheon. I've emceed every one since the Raiders came to Vegas. It's at Allegiant Stadium. If you're invited to come, if you're able to go, it'll be great. Obviously, Fernando Mendoza will be there. And it'll be interesting as I'll run the dais and the panel as we take questions, we interview, and we get to know these young players. England scores. Oh, England scores. England 2-1. Look at this soccer game. The World Cup's been incredible. It's been unbelievable. That's a corner kick for England. And coming over the top, was that Harry Kane? Harry Kane with one of the greatest headers you'll ever see. At the top, he jumped, and he banged it into the corner there, and England takes a 2-1 lead. What a gorgeous goal, man. So Harry Kane's got 2 goals. Eric Haaland has 2 goals for Norway. Lionel Messi has 3 goals for Argentina, and Mbappe for France has 2. Are you kidding me? I'm going to the World Cup June 28th. I hope I see a goal. Oh, don't get me going, Colin. If I go to the World Cup with my son to L.A., to Inglewood, and I get a 0-0, if I get a 0-0 game, oh, no. I need some action. That's for sure. All right, we'll wrap up the show on the other side if you want to get through. And let's get everybody excited about what we have for our Raiders coverage this summer. It's going to be good. We're doing a lot of interviews with a lot of alumni. Hint. That's one of our summer programming blocks. Alumni with a special feature, something I love to do every summer on the flagship of the Silver and Black.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by the DeCasta Verde Law Group. If you get injured in an accident, call 702-222-9999.
He doesn't really want to talk about completing the Grand Slam, and he was on the driving range yesterday, like really grinding. Listen, I'll never bet against Scottie Scheffler, but I don't think he should be the favorite going into this week. I understand why he is, because he is Scottie Scheffler, and his record over the long term has been spectacular, but is he coming into this week playing better golf than some of the other top-name guys? No, absolutely not.
That's Michael Collins of ESPN on golf, and Scottie Scheffler is looking for the career Grand Slam. So he's going to be in an opportunity to win it at Shinnecock National there. One of the toughest golf courses, if not, get this, if not the toughest golf course in the world. JT, back with you. We're brought to you by Woodson Bourbon Whiskey. Charles has defined his legacy as a football player, and he's a tremendous businessman. Woodson Bourbon Whiskey. Have it. Celebrate the Raiders, especially the Raiders going forward. So Sunday is Father's Day. I think I got that right. Sunday is Father's Day, and I think there is going to be a really big day in front of us with this golf. Because if Scheffler wins on Father's Day, he wins the career Grand Slam. He'll have that achievement that Rory McIlroy has, and Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus. And if you look at Ben Hogan and Gary Player and the players who have the career Grand Slam, he can do that on Father's Day. Always has his little boy, his son, with them. They just had another baby. It could be really interesting to see that. So I'll be on Sunday morning on Sirius XM from, time am I on? 9 in the morning till 1 p.m. And what's going to be great about that is that'll be noon to 4 Eastern. And Scotty Scheffler is going to be on the back nine at Shinnecock trying to make greatness. And that'll be really good to see. So I totally think that Scheffler should win because he's been the best golfer for quite some time, and it's the most difficult golf course. And Colin, I know you play golf. We talked about it yesterday. Scheffler hasn't won a major this year, and it's that's a Croatia goal. Oh my! This has been unbelievable. The World Cup has been unbelievable as England had a 2-1 lead, and Croatia just scores. Get me to a sports bar. What is going on here? Look at this. Let me just give you a description. 3 across the top and a nice play inside the box. And a header controlled to the outside. Beautiful goal. 2 really nice goals by Croatia. But Colin, you're new to working with me. I'm new to working with you. We talked golf yesterday. I think if Scotty Scheffler could win in Long Island, a major, a U.S. Open at arguably the toughest golf course in the world, that would be the signature win of his career. Of course, the Masters twice, but this would be something special, which would be an exclamation point.
Yeah, I think the big thing here to consider, too, with Scotty is kind of what it means. We talk about last season, or I guess you could say, last season would be the term. Scotty was on fire. It felt like there wasn't a tournament he would walk into where he wasn't the odds-on favorite to win, or where I felt that he wasn't going to win coming into day 4. Now this year it's been a little different. I think he's had some struggles. He hasn't hit the ball as well as I thought he would. And like you mentioned, you can see him chirping now on the greens with his caddy a little bit more. Very un-Scotty like. He's somebody very kind of quiet, more stoic, doesn't really like to be very loud. So it's just interesting to see how this year has all culminated for him. But like you said, I think if he can put together a nice round or two this weekend and walk out, I believe he has a chance to win. I get that the odds may say, hey, good golfer, hasn't been great, but I like what Scotty's able to do.
So do I. I root for American golfers on American soil. Period. I don't root for any Euros. No Rory McIlroy. I don't want to see anybody else win.
John Rahm, I've seen, is getting a lot of love.
Don't want to see Fitzpatrick win. None of the Euros, because remember, the Euros just kicked our ass on Long Island at Bethpage. And the New Yorkers acted, and I'm from New York, acted like idiots. Acted like knuckleheads and were really rude and horribly offensive to Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry and the European team, including some of their wives and girlfriends. So this is a different crowd. This is out in the Hamptons. This is hoity-toity. This is wealth. This is incredible wealth out there. You won't see the same fans that you saw at the Ryder Cup, even though it's an expensive ticket. It's going to be fun to watch here. So thanks again to Colin. Thanks to Kurt Helin. Thanks to Levi Edwards, who joined us. And thanks to Raider Nation. Appreciate you checking in today. Remember, Q's coming up next, and he'll have a good show. Rest of the week, we're locked and loaded. Tomorrow's a big day. We have a AVP volleyball player in studio as they have the AVP beach volleyball over at Resorts World, which is going to be cool. Phil Villapiano joins us for the first half hour of the show. And then one of my favorite contributors on the show, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Hacksaw is going to join us at 12:30. So we got a loaded show tomorrow, plus some World Cup conversation. So thanks to everybody who participated today. If you miss any portion of the show, it's at lvsportsnetwork.com. You can give a like and subscribe for free to the Raider Nation YouTube channel. Also my YouTube at JT the Brick. JT the Brick LV on Instagram on top of that. All right, have a great rest of the day, everybody. It is hot out there, but a good game to watch in progress, which I'll have Q on, and I'll have the soccer game on, the World Cup. I love the World Cup this time of year. Man, do we need it. We need it for sports. We need it after the NBA, and we need it after the NHL. And the Golden Knights have a new head coach. You can find that on our sister station, Fox Sports Radio. Have a great day.